It's been a little over a year now since Apple was forced to disable the blood oxygen sensor on any newly sold Apple Watch in the US. Is this fight coming to an end soon, or is it still just beginning? And will Massimo's new CEO play any role in it? Let's discuss what's happened over this last year and what's to come. So first off, it was January 18th of 2024 when everything went into effect and the Apple Store can no longer sell an Apple Watch with the blood oxygen sensor enabled. This was the Series 9 and the Ultra 2 at the time, and it has continued to affect the new watches as well, which is just mainly the Series 10 because they continue to sell the Ultra 2 just in a different color. Now, third-party retailers at this time could still sell the rest of their inventory, but every Apple Store was no longer able to sell an Apple Watch with that blood oxygen sensor enabled. Now, luckily for us consumers, this did not affect any Apple Watch that had been purchased beforehand. So if you have a watch with the blood oxygen sensor working, it will continue to work even if you do the latest software updates. And this is going to continue to work that way as well. In April of 2024, Apple did file an appeal, and that has still been ongoing. They're trying to fight back with this and trying to get everything settled to where they can re-enable it, and they will be able to enable it on any devices that have been purchased since this ban. So if you didn't know, even the Series 10 that has had it banned from the very beginning, there is still that sensor in there. It is just turned off for everybody that purchases it in the US. Now, some interesting things started happening in July inside the Massimo company. The founder and CEO was ousted from the board of the company. This didn't seem to have anything to do with Apple itself. It was some kind of shareholder, large, just all that kind of stuff. But in my opinion, it was still good news because just seeing this guy talk about Apple into news organizations and everything like that, he seemed to have somewhat of a vendetta against Apple, which kind of made sense because he did feel like that they stole from his company. But it was still interesting to see, and more came of that in September. But before all that came, the Series 10 was released from Apple, and with it came sleep apnea detection. Now, for a split second, we kind of all expected that that meant that the blood oxygen sensor was back, but Apple came up with a different way to detect sleep apnea, and they do it with your breathing pattern and your movement while you sleep. They use the accelerometer in the Apple Watch to detect it. Now, it takes about 30 days of wearing it at night before they give you any kind of info on whether they think you have it or not. And then they just recommend that you go see a doctor if they expect that you have it. I still think that having the blood oxygen sensor would probably help detect sleep apnea even better, but they have had some success with detecting it in people that did not realize they had it. But also in September, the founder and CEO actually resigned from the Massimo company. And Massimo also started working with Google and Qualcomm on their Wear OS and implementing a blood oxygen sensor through the patents and everything of Massimo. So one win and one kind of loss, because now Google is going to be able to actually start using it and Apple won't. So this is going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But in October, Apple did win a lawsuit against Massimo on some of their older wearable devices, infringing on Apple's patents. Now, Apple didn't really push for a big settlement here from what I understand, or maybe they were, but they were only rewarded $250. So obviously the legal fees were way more than what they actually won. Now, Apple was also going for their new watches as well, but I guess they didn't see any infringements on those devices. So Apple it was like a win-loss here in October. Now, in November, there was more lawsuit movements with the blood oxygen sensor, and Massimo is now, rather than looking for money for the infringement, they now just want to make sure that Apple can never sell a device with that blood oxygen sensor enabled. There hasn't been any kind of results in December and July. They filed all their briefings and everything else, and the judge still has to weigh in on that case. Now, as of right now, we don't know when this judge is going to make his final verdict in this case and what's going to be the outcome of it. But since then, also, the new CEO of Massimo has taken on the role as of February 12th. So it's going to be interesting to see. She hasn't made any kind of public announcement of any of this stuff like the old CEO has, so it will be interesting to see where she takes it. If you want to stay up to date on everything going on in this case, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. I will be continuing to update you as more info on this case unravels. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.